Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1839B, and today's date is April 11th, 2019, and the title of the episode is, We Have the Source. Optics Are Important. Panic in D.C. Now, before I get started, I wanted to talk about the threats nowadays in America, especially with the caravans bombarding the border. One of the best things you can invest in for your home protection is a Patriot flashlight. And why not purchase one of the best flashlights on the market? It has life-saving emergency strobe lights. You can charge your phone anywhere, anytime, with a USB port. Other features include compass, rope, wire cutter, solar-powered recharging, high and low beam LED modes, glass-breaking hammer. Limited supplies last, and this is the very last chance you can get yours at a discount before they sell out. Purchase the best flashlight on the market and get 20% off when you use the code X20. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, we can see the deep state, they are panicking. Ever since Barr came out and said, yes, I do believe that Trump was spied on, and I do believe that this was a setup to have all these individuals come out of the woodwork and say that this is crazy, that Barr needs to apologize, that this didn't happen, because already we have them on record explaining why this could have never happened and why it didn't happen. And I believe that the Patriots wanted to get this out of them right up front here. So this way they can turn around and use it against them later on. And you can see these individuals, most of them are speaking out. All the same players, they're all out there and they are just speaking out about, this is ridiculous. We don't call it spying. We don't do this. But we'll talk about that in just a minute. But first we see Michael Avanetti. He was indicted on 36 more charges, ranging from embezzlement to perjury. Now, this was the guy that had Stormy Daniels going after Trump, also tweeted out that his children were going to be indicted, and none of this ever happened. So if he does get convicted on all these counts, he faces up to 335 years in prison. Now, today out in the UK, we saw Julian Assange. He was arrested by the UK police. Now, we have to ask the question, why after 7 years in the Ecuadorian embassy did all of a sudden they decided to come in and arrest him? Well, it's all about optics. Let's begin. So, the president of Ecuador, Lenin Moreno, he said the following: Today I announced that the discourteous and aggressive behavior of Mr. Julian Assange, the hostile and threatening declarations of its allied organization against Ecuador, and especially the transgression in international treaties, have led the situation to a point where the asylum of Mr. Assange is unsustainable and no longer viable. So remember what Moreno said about Julian Assange, that all of his transgressions of international treaties, how he broke international law. Remember that because Q does mention this in later posts. And we'll get into that in just a minute. But first, why was Assange arrested? Was it because of the dumping of Hillary Clinton's emails? Was it because he was involved in the 2016 election? No, that's not why he was arrested. According to the Eastern District of Virginia, he was arrested under a U.S. and United Kingdom extradition treaty in connection with a federal charge of conspiracy to commit computer intrusion for agreeing to break a password to a classified U.S. government computer. Assange faces about 5 years in prison for his role in obtaining and disseminating classified information from then Army intelligence analyst Bradley Manning, who is now known as Chelsea Manning. Now, according to the court documents, which were unsealed, the charge relates to Assange's alleged role in one of the largest compromises of classified information in the history of the United States. The indictment alleges that in March 2010, so this was back in 2010, it has nothing to do with 2016, he was engaged in a conspiracy with Chelsea Manning, a former intelligence analyst in the U.S. Army, to assist Manning in cracking passwords stored on U.S. Department of Defense computer connected to the secret Internet Protocol Network, SIPRNet, SIPRNet, a U.S. government network used for classified documents and communications. Manning had a gender reassignment surgery after his arrest. He changed his name to Chelsea. In 2017, Obama overruled his Secretary of Defense, Ash Carter, and commuted the sentence of Manning. Manning had stolen and then disseminated more than 750,000 pages of classified documents and videos to WikiLeaks. So, first of all, the charges have nothing to do with 2016, but it has to do with 2010. Just remember that. Remember when we talked about the Gateway pundit reporter Cassandra Fairbanks, and she filmed these individuals that were undercover in the car? Well, these are the same individuals that actually did the arrest of Julian Assange. Very interesting. But let's continue. So over the last 2 years, the mainstream media has been speculating that Trump and Assange secretly conspired with this Russian collusion. This was their story. So the conspiracy theory never slowed even after Roger Stone's indictment revealed that A, Trump camp had no advance knowledge of WikiLeaks releases. B, they tried to find out from Stone, who also had no advance knowledge. The deep state, the mainstream media, were trying to build the case that this was all linked together. But we know that Stone had no actual contact to WikiLeaks, and the president was not conspiring with WikiLeaks either. So having Assange arrested under the Trump administration and then maybe extradited back to the U.S. removes the conspiracy that the deep state, the mainstream media, had created. Optics are very important. Well played, patriots. So why did Trump wait this long? Well, first of all, no more blocks. The Mueller investigation is completed. Barr is now in the driver's seat. Trump was asked today what he thought about the arrest. And he said, I know nothing about WikiLeaks. It's not my thing. And this is what he should be saying. He knows nothing about what WikiLeaks has done. Yes, he commented on the past. He likes what they did, where they dumped Clinton's emails. And this is just like any other reporter, getting documents, information, and producing a story. The president said he has been seeing what's happening with Assange, but added that what happens next is up to who? Attorney General William Barr. Now, Logic tweeted out the following. Ask yourself, if #Julian Assange's arrest was a hostile act, do you really believe he'd be allowed to carry a Gore Vidal book in his hands while being taken into custody? And yes, there is a picture of Assange being arrested, and he has the book in his hand. So, was this book a message to the people? Well, first, the title of this book is History of the National Security State. Gore Vidal discussed the historical events that led to the establishment of the massive military-industrial security complex and the political culture that gave us the imperial presidency. Here are some of his quotes. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy analyst. You cannot deprive somebody of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness because that is a right, constitutional right. We are the United States of amnesia, which is encouraged by a media that has no desire to tell us the truth about anything, serving their corporate masters who have other plans to dominate us. America's history has fallen more and more into the hands of academics. As for civil liberties, anyone who is not vigilant may one day find himself living, if not in a police state, at least in a police city. So Gore Vidal is part of the resistance. He's telling everyone exactly what we've been thinking and what we've been talking about. And when Assange was being taken out of the embassy, a lot of people think that he said, UK, resist. So let's go to Q's post 1626. And an Annan put up a tweet from WikiLeaks. And it says, Democratic senators who demanded today that Julian Assange's asylum be revoked in violation of international law. Remember them. Now, this was back June 28, 2018. And who signed this? Robert Menendez. Richard Blumenthal, Joe Manchin, Dianne Feinstein, Mark Warner, Richard Durbin, and many others. And I believe that Joe Manchin said today that Assange belongs to us now. Their plan was always to get him, to arrest him. So what was the reasoning the Ecuadorian embassy gave up Assange? Repeated violations of international law. Isn't this what this tweet says? This is what they got him on. So I do believe the Patriots allowed this to happen. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Under this, Q says, server or Julian Assange equals truth exposed Seth Rich. So they have Julian Assange. Let's move on to post 1842. Q gave us a link, The Hill, and it says WikiLeaks says Senate panel requested Assange testimony for Russia probe. WikiLeaks is claiming that the Senate Intelligence Committee has asked its founder, Julian Assange, to testify as part of the panel's investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. The organization posted a letter on its Twitter account dated August 1st that purports to come from committee leaders Senator Richard Burr and Mark Warner, requesting that he make himself available for a closed-door interview with a bipartisan committee that staff at a mutually agreeable time and location. This was August 11, 2018. Q says, do you believe in coincidences? We have the source. Post 2322. Q gave us the Freedom of Information website, and it points to Marty Tory, the Mad Hatter, where he's discussing with Clinton that, and this is on page 20, that they need to arrest Assange. So Q has been telling us all along that they have the source is protected, and these individuals, they wanted Assange arrested. Actually, if you listen to what's going on right now, it's all these people who are out there that are saying, yes, we finally got him. Because they do believe that they're safe. They're not. Let's continue. Pirate King tweets out the following. For such a notable arrest, no earpieces for comms, no sign of armed officers, minimal police presence, no barriers, no mainstream media, no pressing from Assange. Not odd. Stage for your viewing pleasure. And then we have the picture of Assange on the bus giving us the thumbs up. Now, a British judge is setting May 2nd for the extradition hearing after he was arrested. So it looks like May 2nd is the date. So the deep state believes that they are safe. They got Assange. He's arrested. As Q always says, why interfere with an enemy while they are destroying themselves? Trump is cleared of the conspiracy that he conspired with WikiLeaks on the Russian collusion, because under the Trump administration, he was arrested. Optics. The source will eventually be brought back to the U.S. The source has vital information and evidence. Assange's extradition and show trial in the U.S. is how you get evidence into the official record. This is just another piece to the puzzle. Q posted today, 3312, to confirm all this. Q says, if we are merely a LARP asking questions on the chans, why are we being attacked daily by some of the world's biggest media companies, social media companies, deliberately applying censorship, banning, shills paid, inserted to disrupt, media matters, blue checkmark, coordinated attacks, etc., all for a conspiracy on the chans, all for a LARP. Why is there a constant flow of disinformation being pushed? REQ. Example, disinformation push, R.E. Mueller is a white hat. Fake and false narrative. Think blockade. When you can't attack the information directly, you attack the source. If that fails, you create false, misleading information to discredit knowing, select, unaware followers would not take the time to self-corroborate the claims. Same vehicle tactics used by fake news media. Logical thinking always wins. Nothing can stop what is coming. As the targets turn to the other side, the attacks will intensify. We have the source. So right there, Q is telling us that they have the source. And I do believe that Assange is protected. This was completely set up to make the deep state believe that they're in control of the source. But in reality, they are not. And it looks like this was planned. And everything that Assange was doing with the thumbs up, with the book and everything else, it shows that this was a planned operation. Now, former FBI agent Peter Strzok, he could face serious charges for his involvement in actions in the Bureau's probe of Hillary Clinton's use of a private server to send classified emails, as well as the FBI's investigation into Trump's campaign. So there are a number of individuals who are looking at Peter Strzok's actions and inactions and how those actions affected both the investigation he was involved in. And this is coming from a U.S. official with knowledge of the case. Strzok is in hot water. He's in trouble. And I don't believe he's the only one. There are many more. Now, today we see a former Obama White House counsel was indicted for lying. This individual's name is Gregory Craig. Craig was originally investigated by the Justice Department for failing to register as a foreign agent while working for the Ukrainian government. However, it looks like the statutes of limitation have since expired for the crime, and it looks like they're bringing him up on charges for lying, misleading statements, just like Paul Manafort and the rest. Craig was President Obama's White House counsel from 2009 to 2010. So here we have the same thing happening. They are indicting him on lying and giving misleading statements. Didn't Mueller do this to all these other individuals? Yes, they're using the same exact tactics on these people. Now, since Barr came out and said, yes, I do believe Trump was spied on, the media is in full panic. And they didn't expect this to happen. But I do believe that the Patriots wanted this to happen to get them to use a lot of their ammunition and their talking points. And again, Barr, during this, was not following the script, and it took them by surprise. We see that top Senate Democrats later called on Bill Barr to walk back his spying allegation. They are in full panic mode. Chuck Schumer tweeted out the following. A.J. Barr admitted he had no evidence to support his claim that spying on the Trump campaign did occur. A.J. Barr must retract his statement immediately or produce specific evidence to back it up. Perpetrating conspiracy theories is beneath the office of the Attorney General. Now think about what he said here. That he didn't provide any evidence. Well, he's not going to provide any evidence as of yet. But Schumer is telling him that he must produce specific evidence to back up his statement. And I believe this is the trap that the Patriots have set. They're asking for evidence. They want the evidence. Show us the evidence to back up what you're saying. Think about what's happening here. Pelosi completely freaks out, accuses Bill Barr of going off the rails for saying Obama admin spied on Trump. And she said, let me just say how very dismaying and disappointing that the chief law enforcement officer of our country is going off the rails yesterday and today. Bill Barr is the Attorney General of the United States of America, not the Attorney General of Donald Trump. No, he is the Attorney General of the United States, and he's following the rule of law. And if he has information that they were spying and he has evidence and proof to back it up, he's going to follow these leads and he's going to follow the rule of law. We see Nadler, he's also saying that Trump is playing a shell game and he's trying to divert attention from the real scandal. No, this is the real scandal, Nadler. You don't have a scandal. You're making yours up. Former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper berated Attorney General Barr for saying that there's been spying on the president during the 2016 presidential campaign. He said, I thought it was both stunning and scary. I was amazed at that and rather disappointed that the Attorney General would say such a thing. Richard Blumenthal came out and said A.J. Barr must retract his unfounded, irresponsible claim that American law enforcement spied on the Trump campaign. The only spies interfering in the 2016 campaign were the Russian ones. Wait, didn't we just prove that there was no spying? That Russians didn't hack the election? That there was no collusion? Very interesting. So then we have Comey. Comey told an audience at the Hewlett Foundation's Verify conference that he has no idea what the heck he's talking about. He went on to say that the FBI conducted court-ordered authorized surveillance. I don't consider that spying. Well, it is when it's done under false pretenses, when people lied about what the warrants were really about and withheld information to get those warrants. Then that turns into spying, because you really didn't have a case. So Trump continued the attack by tweeting the word treasonous in many of his tweets. Why would I be defending a fraudulent Russian witch hunt? It's about time the perpetrators of this fraud on me and the American people start defending their dishonest and treasonous acts. How and why did this terrible event begin? Never forget. So it has now been determined by 18 people that truly hate President Trump that there is no collusion with Russia. In fact, it was an illegal investigation that should never have been allowed to start. I fought back hard against this phony and treasonous hoax. I think what the Democrats are doing with the border is treasonous, all caps. Their open border mindset is putting our country at risk. We'll not let this happen. And then Maggie Haberman tweeted out the following, and she was responding to someone else's tweet. And this is the tweet from Applebaum. Watching him play with the word treasonous is like watching a kid play with a bunch of fireworks. We might all survive. Maggie Haberman said, Trump is calling people treasonous with increasing frequency. Yes, Maggie, you decided to stay on the train. Q asked you if you wanted to get off the train, and it looks like you did not. Now, McConnell was asked by Bret Baier on his thoughts about Bill Barr, and said that there was already an inspector general at the Justice Department looking at the particular problem that was related to the deputy of FBI who was dismissed. It's worth a look, and this attorney general is within his rights to do that. So there's someone already looking into it, and the attorney general has every right to look into this. The individuals in D.C. right now, they are panicking. And they're asking for evidence. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. They're asking the Attorney General to produce specific evidence. What do you think Trump and the Patriots have been doing this entire time? Huber, Horowitz, the shadow investigator that we don't even know of yet, Bill Barr, the team that he's already assembled, the sealed indictments. All of this is going to be the specific evidence. And it's going to be produced. You asked for it. Here it is. Now what? And guess what? They're going to be stuck. Be careful what you ask for. Now, we talk a lot about illegals coming into this country. We know Trump is pushing back on the deep state, building the wall. But something very interesting. The 11th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals ruled that colleges in Georgia are not required to admit illegal immigrant students. Now, the decision further sparked a national conversation about the rights of dreamers, as well as the legality of offering them in-state tuition benefits, which usually allow students attending college in their home states to pay far less than their peers from different states. Now, U.S. Code 1623, which states that anyone who is not legally a citizen cannot be entitled to any benefit that is denied to a citizen of the United States. So some have questioned whether those here illegally should be offered in-state tuition rates that aren't available to other students who are citizens. Currently, right now, there's 18 states who offer some form of a pathway for in-state tuition to those living here illegally. Now, according to the National Conference of State Legislators, These are the states: California, Colorado, Connecticut, Florida, Illinois, Kansas, Maryland, Minnesota, Nebraska, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Texas, Utah, and Washington offer in-state tuition to illegal immigrant students. 2 or more states, Oklahoma and Rhode Island, offer in-state tuition to illegal immigrant students pending approval from the Board of Regents. Now, think about this. Think about people who are citizens here. Why in the world would we be giving in-state tuition to an illegal alien? Why would they get any benefits? Listen, if someone broke into your home, just like they broke into the United States, they jumped the border. If there's a wall there, they jumped the wall. If they broke into your home, they broke into your home. Would they be entitled to anything in your home? No, they wouldn't. Would you say, hey, you know what? I know you came in here legally, but since you're here, you're allowed to take the TV. You're allowed to take my books. You're allowed to take my money that's in the safe over there. Let me give you the combination. No. I mean, this is just unbelievable what's going on here. Now, in the last couple of weeks, Trump has been denouncing for opposing more taxpayer fund for Puerto Rico in the aftermath of Hurricane Maria. Trump has put the blame squarely on the corrupt political leadership of Puerto Rico and highlighted that Puerto Rico has received more relief funding than Florida and Texas combined. The real problems facing the people of Puerto Rico have nothing to do with Trump. It's about rank corruption in which the people of Puerto Rico are the victims and the corrupt Puerto Rican political class are the villains. For decades, Puerto Rico has been governed by a patronage system centered on the 78 mayors across the island who are truly the real political power in Puerto Rico. Many of the mayors have been more than happy to cut deals that allow them to stay in power even if it means failing to actually do their jobs, like collecting property taxes, utility bills, and fees for basic services. Current estimates indicate there is a pool of $3 billion in uncollected property taxes. According to a recent U.S. Treasury report, there are hundreds of thousands of properties on the island that are either unregistered or improperly defined because the Puerto Rican titling system hasn't been updated in nearly 70 years. Even worse, there is a pool of billions of dollars, by some estimates in the neighborhood of $10 billion, in uncollected water bills, electric bills, and tourism tax dollars. Who wins in this system? The politicians and the politically powerful who can cut a deal with elected officials. And Trump is absolutely right. They're taking this money and they're pushing it into different areas, and it's not going to the people. It's going to the corrupt politicians. And it's not unlike the money that goes to Planned Parenthood, where that money is siphoned off and it goes to other places. It's not any different than the money that is being sent out to Afghanistan or to many other places where we never see that money once again. It's the same thing over and over and over. Where does all this free money come from? How come there's no checks and balances? Well, again, you have the central bank. The government can borrow more and more and more of it. Think about it. If there was gold and we had a set amount of gold, guess what the government can't do? They can't borrow. This would make it a lot tougher. This would reduce corruption. Again, we need to go back to the central bank. And once again, there's many people that don't want this system to end because it benefits them extremely, extremely well. They make a fortune off it. What do you think a lot of these politicians that enter government, they enter, making 170 or 180,000, whatever it is, but they come out to be multi-millionaires afterwards? Does that make any sense? What job do you know where you go in making a base salary and you come out to be very, very wealthy? Not many. And especially not in government. Now, Senator Ted Cruz, he's threatening to regulate Google, Facebook, and Twitter over anti-conservative bias. So we have Nunes now. He's bringing up lawsuits. We have Ted Cruz now threatening to regulate Google and the big tech giants because they're talking about censorship. They're talking about there's 2 sets of rules here, and there's a problem. And this is what he tweeted out. What makes the threat of political censorship so problematic is the lack of transparency, the invisibility The ability for a handful of giant tech companies to decide if a particular speaker is disfavored. And he's absolutely right. And we can see that everything now is starting to come together. The blocks are all gone. Trump and the Patriots, they are free now to pursue the plan, full speed ahead. We have panic in D.C. Barr mentioned that there was spying. Everyone in D.C. is freaking out. Assange now is finally out of the embassy. The deep state thinks they are in power here. They have control. Thank God we got rid of him. He's going to be sent to jail. What they don't know is that the Patriots are controlling everything that happens. And he is the source. And once he's brought to the United States, what's stopping him from giving all the evidence, everything that he has, over to the Patriots? Nothing. Remember what Q says in the post. Server or Julian Assange equals truth exposed. Seth Rich. It's all happening, people. Panic in D.C. Thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.